Could you eat $1,000 worth of McDonald's in just 36 hours if it meant winning $200,000? How about getting breast implants for 12 months to win $100,000? These are just a few of the absurd bets poker pros have made with each other for staggering sums of money. Matias versus Forrest. The Ted Forrest weight loss bet is the stuff of poker legend, a wild combination of extreme discipline, insane stakes, and a dash of madness. It all started when Mike "The Mouth" Matias, known for his bold personality and love of outrageous bets, challenged Forrest to drop to under £140. The prize? A staggering $2 million if Forrest could hit the target weight by July 15th and maintain it until September 24th. Fail, and Forrest would owe Matias $150,000.
This crazy bet just came up.
He's like, I bet $2 million I can get down to 139. And I'm like, it's impossible.
Right now I weigh 159. I've lost 25 pounds, another 20 to go. I feel great. I feel a lot better than when I was 184.
At the time, Forrest weighed a lean but healthy 188 pounds. Dropping nearly 50 pounds in a few months would test anyone, but Forrest didn't flinch. He accepted the challenge, fully aware of how extreme it was. What followed was a grueling transformation that would push his body and mind to the absolute limit. From that moment, his life turned into a non-stop grind. Sugar, gone, meals, whittled down to raw vegetables and lean protein. His days became a blur of calorie-burning punishment. During the World Series of Poker, while other players were strategizing over stakes, Forrest was pounding the pavement, literally. He ran 4 miles during every dinner break and walked miles to and from the Rio casino every single day. It wasn't just dedication, it was obsession.
It's hysterical to watch him, like walking and running on every break, realizing that no matter how much he runs, his body won't go below 161.
As the deadline loomed closer, Forrest cranked the intensity to 11. In the final stretch, he took on a 10-day fast. No food, just sheer determination. When July 15th finally arrived, Forrest stepped on the scale. The room went silent, everyone watching as the numbers flashed, then settled. 138 pounds. He'd done it. Barely, but he'd done it. But here's where the story takes a turn. Matias, stunned by what Forrest had put himself through, didn't pay up. Not the full amount, anyway. He claimed Forrest's extreme methods were dangerous, even life-threatening, and then dropped the bombshell. He didn't have the money. The collapse of full-tilt poker had hit Matias's finances hard, and his excuses piled up as quickly as Forrest had shed pounds. He made some partial payments, just over $70,000, but the rest? Nothing. Forrest wasn't having it. Furious, he called out Matias publicly and even suggested they settle it the old-fashioned way, a boxing match, a high-stakes fight to the finish. Matias didn't bite, and the debt remains unpaid to this day. Esfandiari's Lunge Bet. Antonio Esfandiari was never one to shy away from a ridiculous challenge, especially when Bill Perkins was involved. Perkins, a high-stakes gambler known for his outrageous prop bets, came up with a new one. Esfandiari could only move by lunging for a full 48 hours. No walking, no running, just lunges no matter where he was or what he needed to do. The prize? $50,000. At first, the bet seemed like harmless fun. Esfandiari, always up for a spectacle, accepted without hesitation. But the challenge wasn't as simple as it sounded. The PokerStars Caribbean adventure was in full swing, and Antonio wasn't just lounging in a hotel room. He was lunging across the vast casino floor, between poker tables, and even up and down stairs. The physical toll was immediate. By the second day, his legs were wrecked, every movement a painful grind. The breaking point came during one of the tournament sessions. Exhausted and desperate, Antonio needed to use the restroom. But the idea of lunging all the way to the bathroom was unbearable. In a moment of poor judgment, he decided to relieve himself into a bottle under the table. It was a last-ditch effort to keep the bet alive, but it quickly spiraled into controversy. Tournament officials discovered what had happened and disqualified Esfandiari on the spot. The $50,000 prop bet had suddenly cost him much more than sore legs. It had damaged his reputation. Public backlash was swift, and Antonio was forced to issue a formal apology, acknowledging his mistake. To make amends, he donated his winnings from the bet to charity, an attempt to turn an embarrassing moment into something positive. While the bet ultimately left Esfandiari with a bruised ego and sore muscles, it remains one of the most infamous stories in poker history. Zembic's breast implants. Brian Zembic wasn't your average gambler. A magician by trade and a backgammon player on the side, Zembic was known for his love of wild, high-stakes prop bets. But in 1996, he agreed to a challenge that would make him infamous in the gambling world. He bet $100,000 that he would get breast implants and keep them for a year.
There's very few things that I wouldn't do for a bet. My buddies bet me $5,000 I could live in his box on Fifth Avenue for a week. I had to live in a friend's bathroom for a month. I slept under the 59th Street Bridge with $10,000 wrapped around my ankle for a week. In about 1997-ish, I was in some restaurant in Europe and I was with two friends. And his girlfriend at the time was flaunting her boobs. And I said to my friend, if I had boobs like hers, I can get just as much attention as she would.
It wasn't just talk. Zembic took the bet seriously, consulting a surgeon and going under the knife to have size 36C implants placed in his chest. It wasn't just a test of his ability to follow through on a bet, it was a statement about how far he was willing to go to win. For Zembic, the bet wasn't just about the money. The implants became a bizarre badge of honor, and to everyone's surprise, he didn't immediately have them removed after winning the wager. In fact, years later, Zembic still had them, claiming he'd grown attached to the attention they brought him. He even joked that women found them attractive, though it was hard to tell if he was serious or just leaning into the absurdity of it all. The $100,000 prize was certainly a big payday, but the story was priceless. Zembic's breast implants became a legendary example of the lengths gamblers would go to for a prop bet. Amarillo Slim's genius. Amarillo Slim wasn't just a poker legend, he was a walking, talking showman with a knack for turning the most bizarre ideas into winning prop bets. If you thought poker was where he made his name, wait until you hear about the bets that cemented his legacy. Take his infamous table tennis challenge. Slim walks into a room and dares none other than tennis champion Bobby Riggs to a game. But there's a catch: no regular paddles. Slim wanted to use iron skillets, yet frying pans. Riggs, confident in his skills, accepts the challenge, probably thinking it was a joke. What he didn't know: Slim had been secretly practicing for months, honing his skillet skills to near perfection. When the match started, Slim's preparation paid off. He sent Riggs packing, leaving everyone in the room stunned and probably a little hungry. But that wasn't the only time Slim put a unique spin on ping pong. He once bet a professional table tennis player from Taiwan that he could beat them using Coca-Cola bottles as paddles. Let's pause here. Who even thinks of that? Slim. That's who. He spent hours mastering the ridiculous technique, and when it came time for the match, he pulled it off. Victory. Another story to add to his collection of outrageous wins. Then, there's the time he bet he could drive a golf ball over a mile. On its face, that sounds impossible. A mile, even with the best equipment? But Slim had a plan. He chose to make the bet during winter, on a frozen lake. When he hit the ball, it didn't just land, it slid and slid and slid. By the time it came to a stop, it had traveled well over a mile. Evel Knievel himself supposedly watched that one, probably wishing he'd thought of it first. And if you think that's clever, wait for this. Slim once bet he could outrun a horse in a 100-yard dash. Everyone laughed. How could a man possibly beat a horse? But Slim, always thinking ahead, got to choose the course. He designed a 50-yard track with a turnaround at the halfway point. The horse, needing time to slow down, turn, and speed back up, didn't stand a chance. Slim zipped through the course and claimed another win. These weren't just random stunts. Slim wasn't chasing fame, he was outsmarting everyone around him. His bets were as much about strategy as they were about guts, and his ability to turn the absurd into reality was unmatched. Amarillo Slim didn't just play the game, he rewrote the rules, one wild bet at a time. Nus McDonalds wager. Michael Nuri's McDonald's bet was the kind of madness that only poker players could dream up. Imagine this: $200,000 on the line, and all you have to do is eat $1,000 worth of McDonald's food in 36 hours. Sounds easy, right? Think again. At an average of $10 per Big Mac meal, that's 100 Big Mac meals. 100. The kind of order that would make the cashier do a double take and your stomach beg for mercy. The mastermind behind this absurd challenge was Matt Savage, a poker tournament director known for his knack for stirring the pot. He didn't just throw out the idea, he made sure there were rules. Salads, only $200 worth, could count. At least $300 had to come from hot food, burgers, fries, McNuggets, you name it. Drinks didn't count, so no washing it all down with overpriced sodas. And here's the kicker. Everything had to be eaten exactly as ordered. No modifications, no shortcuts, no blending it into some horrifying McDonald's smoothie. Even the Happy Meal toys were part of the deal. Nouri, a professional poker player, took the challenge head-on. At first, it wasn't so bad. He powered through the burgers and fries with the kind of confidence you'd expect from a guy who thought he had this in the bag. But as the hours ticked by, reality set in. The grease, the salt, the sheer volume, it all started to hit him. Hard. By the time he reached $95 worth of food, Nouri looked like a man who'd been through a war. His stomach had declared unconditional surrender. He still had hours left, but there was no way he could go on. He threw in the towel, $905 short of the goal. Dan Bilzerian's bike ride. Dan Bilzerian is no stranger to outrageous stunts, but his 2016 bike ride from Las Vegas to Los Angeles might be one of the most daring and ridiculous of them all. The challenge came from none other than Bill Perkins, a master of high-stakes prop bets. The terms were simple: ride a bike the 300 miles between the two cities in under 48 hours. The prize? $600,000. Now, this wasn't just a casual cycling trip. The journey meant pedaling through blistering desert heat, steep climbs, and endless miles of unforgiving terrain. Bilzerian, a self-proclaimed playboy with a penchant for Instagram antics, wasn't exactly the picture of athleticism, but $600,000, that was enough to make him take it seriously. He didn't go into it unprepared. Bilzerian hired Lance Armstrong's former trainer, bought a top-tier bike, and started a grueling training regimen.
And I got on the stationary bike, and I'll never forget this. I rode for 45 minutes, and I couldn't go anymore. And I was just like, my legs were just on fire, and I was just like, oh man, this is rough.
By the time the clock started, he was ready, or at least as ready as someone could be for such a punishing ordeal. The ride was brutal. At one point, Bilzerian's body gave out, and he had to draft behind a support van to keep going. Critics called it cheating, but the rules of the bet were murky at best. Despite the controversy, Bilzerian crossed the finish line in just 33 hours, beating the deadline by a wide margin. He walked away with the $600,000, though not without some drama. Rick Salomon, who had side bet $250,000 that Bilzerian wouldn't survive the ride, refused to pay up, citing the drafting incident as a breach of the bet. Still, Bilzerian completed the ride, proved his doubters wrong, and added yet another wild story to his already legendary reputation. It was a victory that combined grit, preparation, and a little bit of chaos, exactly what you'd expect from Dan Bilzerian. Phil Ivey's craziest prop bet didn't take place at the poker table, it happened at the dinner table. Known for his love of high-stakes wagers, Ivey accepted a challenge from Tom Dwan that seemed simple on the surface. Go vegetarian for an entire year. The reward? A cool $1 million. For someone as disciplined as Ivey, it seemed achievable. But the reality was far more complicated. Ivey, a man who loved his steaks, quickly discovered that swearing off meat wasn't just about avoiding a juicy ribeye. It required an overhaul of his diet, something he wasn't prepared for. His solution? Eating pasta. Lots of pasta. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner turned into carb-loaded monotony, and before long, it started to impact his poker performance. Feeling sluggish and frustrated, Ivey realized the bet was affecting more than just his eating habits, it was interfering with his game. After just 9 days, Ivey gave in. Sitting at a restaurant staring down a perfectly cooked steak, he made the call. That first bite cost him $150,000. He'd bought out of the bet, handing over the 6-figure penalty to Dwan for the freedom to eat meat again. Ashton Griffin's Ultramarathon prop bet is one of the most jaw-dropping physical feats in poker history. Known as the Ashman in high-stakes circles, Griffin was already infamous for his wild prop bets, but this one raised the bar to an almost unimaginable level. The bet runs 70 miles on a treadmill in under 24 hours. The prize, $300,000. To put this in perspective, Griffin wasn't an ultra-marathoner or a professional athlete. Sure, he was in good shape, but 70 miles in a day is a grueling challenge even for seasoned runners. What made it even crazier? Griffin reportedly accepted the bet while hungover. Most people would struggle to crawl out of bed in that condition, let alone take on a physical trial of this magnitude. But Griffin wasn't like most people. Fueled by adrenaline, sheer willpower, and the promise of a massive payday, he started running. 1 mile turned into 5, then 10, then 20. By the halfway point, his body was screaming at him to stop, but he refused to quit. He powered through the pain step after agonizing step, clocking mile after mile on the treadmill. Somehow, against all odds, Griffin completed the challenge in just 12 hours, half the allotted time. It was a stunning display of endurance and mental toughness, and it left his poker peers in awe. Not only did he pocket $300,000, but he also cemented his status as one of the most hardcore prop bet legends in the game. And that's it, the craziest prop bets in poker history. But it's not just the bets that make poker pros unique. Many of them swear by strange superstitions, from lucky charms to never sitting in certain seats. Want to know the quirks that poker's elite believe give them an edge? Click here to find out.